screen with you. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yes, no? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. I guess Riddhi was for this beautiful introduction.
Yes.
So our in 2 days time, we're going to learn fundamentals of SLR, and there are certain techniques. What are the process of going through the systematic literature review? So before getting into the ocean of systematic literature review, let us understand what is systematic literature review first. But before that, going in the systematic manner, let us understand what is only the literature review. So anyone from the audience can tell me what is your understanding of literature review?
I'm Dr. Indu.
Hi, ma'am.
Literature review is could be used as a triangulation method
Okay.
For selecting a topic, as well
Okay.
as it could be a to go for the rationale of your research by going to the papers, what the research has happened in the before we have taken up the research. So this
Okay.
supports also and also helps us to choose the topic as well as go and find a variable. So literature review is get to be the baseline of our research.
Okay. Anybody else? I want two more reply from the audience.
Ma'am, it gives the glimpse of the research.
Okay, it gives the glimpse of the research in terms of
In the form key, it gives the what we are going to do, what we have to do while reading literature review. We can come to know about the literature at what topic we want to work.
okay, okay, fine, fine. Anyone, one more reply from your end.
Yes,
Anyone
ma'am.
from the audience?
Yes, ma'am. This is Yashoda.
Yeah.
In a simple word, literature review is like analyzing the papers which are available on the topic of our interest. I mean, area of our interest,
Very good.
the area
Very
of our
good.
research,
Yeah.
and also that is where we gonna find gaps for our research.
Okay, great, great, great. So basically, just wanted to understand your understanding, what you know about literature review, and as three of you rightly pointed out that okay, when we say literature review, right, it is if I summarize your answer, it is nothing but the summary and explanation of the current state of knowledge, right, on focused topic. See here, topic is very important. Focused topic is very important. For example, if you want to understand the stress management in IT segment, now we are focusing on what stress management, but we have also narrowed down our approach to only IT employees, right? Stress management, for example, we want to understand employee engagement in pharmaceutical sector, or we want to understand the brand positioning of XYZ brand, right, in that particular area, or maybe Gujarat, or maybe India, or maybe you can say compare the two countries, like the Asian countries, you can compare the two continents. See, but here in underlying point is, right, it is always a focused topic, right? So whatever till date, whatever has been done, right, on your topic, right? So it is a summary and explanation both. See, two things are important here. One is summary, right? You have to summarize, and then that summary, that should be the explanation summary. Now, that can be found in academic books, journal articles, and all other sources related to the subject of study, right? So what we used to say that literature review, that does not mean only the research papers we are talking about, right? It's not about only research papers. It's not about only report. It's not about only the newspaper, right? So whatever that has been written, right, it can be research paper, it can be the case study, it can be the newspaper articles, it can be the other journal articles, textbook, whatever sources on in those sources, whatever you get on your focus topic, right? If you synthesize everything, that becomes your literature. And because it name itself is a literature, so literature can be anything. It can be book, it can be journal article, it can be any other newspaper, e-newspaper, reports, right? Even theses are also part of your can be review. So whatever literature that you have gone through, made a summary, and you can explain it, what up till date, what has been done on that particular topic, that is called literature review. Now, moving on this literature review, then what is systematic literature review? So you feel that whatever you are doing, right, till now you are doing everything in a very systematic way, right? But when you use the word system, it is always having the input, process, and output. So here, what we are going to input, how we are going to process, and what could be our output, that will be answered by the systematic literature review. And so what it says, it's as a review, systematic literature review, or henceforth we will say SLR, right? As it is a methodology that encapsulates the process for assembling, arranging, and assessing. Now, 3 A's are very important over here, right? Assemble it, arrange it, and assess it. See, if you follow this process, right, then your review becomes a systematic literature review. So when what we will do, for example, you are doing your PhD, right, and you want to do, okay, on your topic, chosen topic, right, now you want to go for literature, right? And many scholars I have seen, especially in the management and social science field, right, what they are doing, they'll take the membership of any good IIM's library, right, or IIM, MICA, NIRMA, I mean, if whatever institutes that are nearby you, right, but the institute of national repute, right? So IIM's library, usually they will take the membership, they will always acquire whatever is there. So they use all the database that they are having. From those database, you will, first thing is you will assemble, right? Take out whatever is there. Don't waste your time in purifying everything there and there, right? You have a limited number of days, right, for those membership. So assemble whatever you are having. You acquire, identify, okay, this literature can be used. Okay, if it is not used, you can make a separate folder. Then next thing is, which is very important in SLR, is arranging. Now, what is arranging over here? Right, you need to purify. See, you might have downloaded 800, 900 research papers, right? So out of those, not necessary that all those research papers are helpful. Now you have to arrange it in a different folders, right? For example, I'll give my example. So how I have gone through my systematic literature review process in my postdoctoral thesis, right? So what I did, so see, many a times there is a question that SLR is only and only for research paper writing, right? So people are writing SLR papers. No, right? It is a one methodology you can apply in the thesis writing as well. Okay, so how you can arrange it? I went to IIM's library. I took a membership. I went there for, I got a time for 15 days, right? So every day 3 to 4 hours I spent in that particular library, right? And whatever on my topic. So my topic was psychological contract, right, in this new normal era. So what I need to do, I need to, from my topic, I need to understand, okay, what are the antecedents and what are the outcomes? Is there any mediators and moderators available, right? So I downloaded everything, right? And then I made a separate folder for each variable. Okay, this is how these variables are connected with psychological contract. So that is the arranging part. You have everything. Now how you will arrange? Make a separate folder, right? Then assessment is related to, finally, last A, that is assessment. Now that is related to evaluation and reporting. Now see, once you purify everything, okay, this is helpful, this is not helpful, make separate folder, and now started evaluating, right? Read the entire paper, understand what can be the methodology, right? What is the methodology that paper has followed, right? What kind of research design, what kind of sampling. Okay, this paper is in Indian paper, this is not non-Indian paper. Okay, this paper is written in different context. Okay, how this paper, how this outcome will be helpful to me in my research writing, maybe this is a research paper. Now that part is called the assessment. We will talk about this at a length in tomorrow's lecture, because tomorrow we are going to understand the different techniques, how we are going to report it. But see, this is how we can go for systematic literature review. Now, any question on this, because this is the base, right? On this base, we are going to make the entire building of SLR, right? So any question on this, right? Because we are going to talk about assembling, arranging, assessing at length in the tomorrow's session. But this is what the gist of SLR, right? I hope you guys are with me. Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Now next thing is we're going to understand SLR features. Okay, because today our main topic is fundamentals of SLR. Okay, what are the features of SLR? Right, the first and very important is clear research question. Right, it has to be clear research question. So a well-defined research question guides the entire SLR process, right? So before taking or going for a deep dive into the systematic literature review, right? First, what you need to define, your research question must be clear. Okay, why my research question should be clear, right? Because I should understand what I need to search, right? When am I searching my literature review, at least I should understand what am I supposed to search. So for that, right, your research question, that has to be very clear, right? It has to be well defined. Okay, for example, here it is given, right? Okay, so I'm giving you 1 minute, right? Just analyze, right? Research question which is written over here. What are the effects of mindful-based interventions on reducing symptoms of anxiety? Now, what is your understanding from this? Can anyone tell me? Why you are saying this is a well-defined research question? What are the characteristics you can see here? Anyone? I have not asked any difficult question. Just try to interpret why this research question, right? I'm saying this is a well-defined research question. Yes, come on. Anyone? No one?
Ma'am, well-defined research question means we have selected what we want
Yes.
to study and find
Yes.
out very clearly. And for that, we also read literature.
Okay.
And after reading literature and finding out what exactly we want to, want to see and want to research.
Yeah.
If we're started our research basic on that question, this is called SLR.
Okay, fine. So here, thank you, ma'am. What we are trying to say here, right? So it is, what are the effects of mindfulness-based intervention using symptoms of anxiety? See, here we are very clear what we want to study. We want to study that if we are going to use any mindfulness-based intervention, right? So is there any way that we reduce the symptoms of anxiety? So see, mindfulness-based interventions can reduce so many things. It can talk about mental health, we can talk about well-being. Very clear, we are saying that we only and only want to check that whether it can reduce the symptoms of anxiety or not. We are very clear with our variables, right? With our variables, okay, fine. This is something that we want to study. That's why this is called a clear research question, because which variable we want to study, it is very clear in this particular research question. Second, very important is inclusion and exclusion criteria. When we say inclusion exclusion criteria, right? So in review, there are certain studies that you can say, okay, I am only studying last 15 years of this particular thing, right? Last 15 years of paper or last 10 years of paper that are conducted on human subject. You can also, one of the inclusion criteria that you can use, right, is this, the whatever you will refer, that should be written in English. Another inclusion criteria, I'm just giving you the example. What you can take is, see, here only authors, so researchers are getting full freedom. You can set your inclusion and exclusion criteria, right? You can set completely your inclusion and exclusion criteria, but yes, it should be logical. It should be logical. Another thing is, you can say that, okay, I'm going to study only and only research papers. I will not take into consider I will not consider books. I'll not consider books. I'll not consider other things, right? So there, this is something that you can always check as your inclusion and exclusion criteria. You can exclude, okay, I'm going to exclude studies where less than 20 participants are there, right? So there are less than 20 sample size, I'm not going to take, right? I'm not going to consider the studies which are done in the underdeveloped countries, because my study is only and only limited to the developing countries or developed countries. So that is your, because see, nature of your study, your topic, your variables actually will more talk about your inclusion and exclusion criteria. Another feature of SLR is a comprehensive search strategy, right? See, I can say, okay, from you, of the papers are there on Google Scholar, right? So I'm saying, I can say that, okay, I have only downloaded those research papers and reports which are available on Google Scholar. No, I cannot say those things, right? You must go for a comprehensive search strategy, which is a systematic search strategy that is devised to identify relevant studies across. See, here the very important two words are the multiple database and source, right? So I have to go through the PubMed, I have to go through the SciInfo, I have to go for Web of Science, Scopus, right? All these things, yeah, these are very, very, very important things, right? I not said, okay, I have only searched on the Scopus, right? And I have not considered any other database. Right? So reviewer, if you're writing a research paper, systematic SLR paper, they will always ask you why you have not gone to Web of Science. You cannot say, I don't have login access to that. You have to manage all these things, right? So you have to go across the database. If you take the membership of good libraries, so there all the databases are available, right? So you can, across the database, you can download your material. That's why it is always advisable to go for this kind of library where all the databases are available. So even the government institutions, they are also purchasing this kind of database, right? So see, in whenever you are going for SLR, right, so you need to make keywords. For example, mindfulness based intervention is one keyword, anxiety is another keyword. If you're going for clinical trial, that's another keyword, right? So you have to identify the keywords. You must identify keywords, right? Then next thing is, sorry, next thing over here is transparent and reproducible process, right? Okay, why? This is also important feature of SLR, that how it is transparent and how it is reproducible, right? So the review process is transparent, allowing others to replicate it, right? How it is transparent? Because see, when we are following systematic literature review, it is very important to understand that, okay, there are certain steps that you need to follow. Now, these steps you are following, the other person can also follow. Anybody who is doing the kind of research can replicate the process that you have followed, right? And why it is called transparent? Because let me show you one example where I can say that how We're using the word transparent. Okay, is my screen visible to everybody? This paper is visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So why I'm saying transparent, and see, if you can see, this is one of the paper. I'm saying this is a good paper. I said, just okay. If you can see here, it is a transparent. So what the researcher has used several online database to explore the studies on graduates' career choice. So this is their title, what they want to check. See, look at their inclusion exclusion criteria. English language, only those studies are included. Resources were electronic database such as ABI Info Complete, EBSCO, Emerald, ProQuest, Sage, Science Direct, Scopus Springer, Taylor and Francis, Willy Online Library. So they have gone through across the database, right? And although the study attempts to include all the articles on graduates' career choice, the present research does not claim the database is either complete or exhaustive in nature. So this transparency. You can't say that you have, checked everything. This statement is very actually important when you are writing. Okay. Now, when I'm saying you can replicate this process, that means, let's go down. See, this is the process, right? Identification. See, so the author has actually downloaded the material from IIM Ahmedabad library and Google Scholar. Right. So when you write the IIM library, that means all the database have come into the consideration. Then identification includes, okay, how many? See, when I say this is also comes in the transparent, right? This total number of search was there. Then that person has screened. So screening process. Then whatever the relevance article, right? Relevant articles are there, they have kept. And finally, what they have included, lastly, only 14 articles were included in the study. Now, this process, right? Anybody can repeat this process: identification, screening, relevance, and inclusion, right? So that's why here we have one, when you say the transparent and reproducible process, right? Nothing is there which is, you have to be very transparent. See, well, when you're writing a systematic literature, at the same time you have to reproduce it, which process is already there, right? You can you can identify, you can screen, you can go for inclusion, you can go for relevance, you can go for whatever the process. Yeah, anybody can replicate this particular process. And here, that's why this process is very important, where documentation of source strategy, inclusion, exclusion criteria, decision, and extraction is very crucial, right? Because this, so see here, right? All these things are very crucial to report, right? So see, when you send your paper to a good journal, they have access to so many databases, right? And if you have written something over here, see, they've also mentioned, authors have also mentioned timeline. So they can also check, okay, right? So during this time to this time, how many studies were there? So that you have to understand. Finally, we have data extraction and synthesis. In database, lastly, we have this data extraction and synthesis. Okay, you have downloaded everything, you understood the process, right? Now you have to synthesize, right? And this thing, or if you want to perform some statistical analysis, right, which is a part of a meta-analysis or narrative synthesis, right? So if you want to perform some statistical analysis, so you can go for a meta-analysis. You can use different software, right? So one software is called a comprehensive meta-analysis. This software is, that will help you in if, for let's say, for example, I have last 20 years of paper on one topic, and I want to understand, right, that what is the correlation between the different variables. So through meta-analysis, I can check the effect and everything, right? So all these things, see, these are the very basic features of SLR, right? These are very simple, right? You just need to understand the proper technique of it. Otherwise, this is very simple to understand. Okay, if we go to the basics, right? How, let me take this here. Can I hide? Okay, let me take it here. Okay, what is the difference between review, simple review, literature review, and systematic literature review? Now, systematic literature review is a type of literature review that is focused on a particular research question, right? And simple review, if we are talking about, it is just a critical evaluation of what the existing published work in a selected research area, right? So one is more focusing on rather research area, when SLR is more focusing on a particular research question, right? That is the first point of difference, right? Second is when it is simple literature review, right? It identifies research gap, place the research study in relation to other studies to evaluate the promising research method and to suggest for further research or future research, right? See, when we do simple literature review, right? See, every literature review cannot be the systematic one. Otherwise, it is taking too much time, right? So existing, when we say simple literature review, what it can do, it can identify research gap, right? That will help you in, and what are the different relationship between the variables, right? And what are the methods that can be used. Simple review will give the answer of this. When you say systematic literature review, right, you need to identify, review, summarize what is best available on the research question. See here, again, more and more emphasis on research question and not the entire research area. So that you have to understand, right? Simple review. See, I'm writing so many papers, right? And not in every paper I can follow SLR methodology, right? I will not go and search across the database about papers, right? About that particular research question, right? So that process cannot be done in the simple review. Otherwise, the paper will take the years and years, right? Next is research question is formed after writing the literature review and identifying the research gap, right? And here, when you say systematic literature review, it is formed at the beginning of systematic review, right? See, this is also very important to understand, right? See, RQ, see, it is always a very important part of your thesis writing or literature, sorry, your research paper writing or whatever dissertation writing that you are doing, right? So research, once you do the entire review, right, then you can form the question, right? And then you can identify the gap in a simple review. But when we go for the systematic literature review, we are actually focusing on that, okay, these two variables I want to study, right? Okay, in these two variables, how I can go for, I can study further, and do I have enough literature that I can study for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, right? So that is where the systematic literature review is coming into the picture, right? So every study can never be a systematic literature review, right? You must have the purpose for doing systematic literature review. Next thing is, it is always, see, simple literature review is a very essential component, right, in every study, right? But systematic review is not essential. It's not essential. It is a separate methodology of study, right? So see, this is a basic gap between simple LR and a systematic LR. Okay, moving to the next slide. What are the types of SLR? Now, this is also very interesting to understand. Different types of systematic literature review, right? There are so many papers on the different types that we are going to understand in next 1 hour, right? So basically, if we are focusing, right, there are 4 types. So under those 4 types, we have subtypes as well, right? So first is domain-based, second is theory-based, third is method-based, and fourth is meta-analytic review, right? Okay. When we say the domain-based review, right? So it is more focusing on development of some or concentrating on the development of an area. For example, financial literacy, that is one area. It can also focus on any outlet. That means journal I'm talking about, right? If you have seen that in one journal, this particular journal, International Journal of Consumer Studies, right? So there was a systematic LR of in last 25 years or in last 30 years. In that particular journal, right, what kind of papers were published, or they have done literature, systematic LR, right? Another thing is you can also concentrate or development of any particular topic, right? For example, reference points in consumer choice model, right? See, I have taken from the different field, right? So here I'm taking that reference point on consumer choice model, right? This is one topic, right, in marketing, that if somebody is doing in marketing, so this is one. Okay, on this is an entire domain, right? In consumer choice models, the reference point, right? This is entire domain. Financial literacy is entire domain, right? If you're studying in one particular journal in last 30 years, what kind of papers were published, this is called a domain-based review, right? Okay, now in domain-based review, right, first thing is theme-based review. If I have it, let me show that to you. Structured theme-based review. Okay. Let us see this particular paper. So this paper, right, is having structured theme-based review. This paper was published in International Business Review, which is one of the best journal, right? And now 5 decades of research on export barriers, review and future direction. First, let us understand how it is a domain-based review. Can anyone tell me from the audience how it is a domain-based review? Anybody? From the title, are you able to figure it out that this is a domain-based review?
It is focusing on export barriers.
Yes, this is focusing on export barriers, right? Rightly pointed out. So one thing is, okay, we are only 5 decades of research on export barriers. So this domain export barrier, right? And last 5 decades, what kind of research that has been done? So you want to review it and you want to go for a future direction. Okay. So in that particular domain-based review, right? See here, in the introduction itself, you are having this kind of review questions, right? So these 3 review questions are already there. If you are able to see it, let me just zoom in. Okay, see, what are the factors associated with export barrier that you want to study in last whatever the 50, 20, 30 years, right? Then what theories explain this? So in those research paper, what kind of theories were there and what is the nature of the association, right? So how barriers are there? The nature of association means what are the different, how that barriers are associated, what kind of barriers were there, right? So see, these 3 questions, that's why we say when we are going for SLR, right, our review questions has to be very, very, very clear, right? See, this is the heart of your SLR, right? So this is entire domain based. So whatever in this research paper they have done, right, they are focusing on domain based only. If let's go down. Okay, so see, overviews of study. So this is called transparency in the paper, right? How many relevant papers were there? 132. Non-empirical papers, empirical papers. In non-empirical, they've gone for review and conceptual studies. Empirical, they have study, right? And then you have creator rate. Now, this is actually one of the best way to represent whatever you have done, right? Then each and every paper you will see always a source, terms, database, right? This is how you have to say, how you have extracted the data, right? What kind of publication outlets that you have gone, that means these journals that this particular author has gone through, right? What are the theories used? See, then you have to make different tables like this, right? And this is how you are reporting your particular paper, right? So in that also, we have framework based, right? So that was one thing, that was a structured theme based review, right? Another thing is, we have framework based review, which is again a part of your domain based review, right? So see, these are the different frameworks that are developed. See, majority of the contribution in this SLR, right, that we can see of Professor Justin Paul, right? So he has given so many frameworks. The first framework that he has given is ADO, that is antecedent, decisions, and outcome. That framework was given by Paul and Benito in 2018, right? So ADO framework is there. Then there is another framework that is called TM, right? T stands for theory, C stands for context, M stands for method. See, if you'll ask me which framework is better, again, it depends on your research question and what kind of research material that you are able to download and you're getting. And again, also it depends on the need of that particular research. Do you require ADO framework, antecedent, decision, and outcome? You require theory, context, and method, right? That framework was again given by Paul et al. 2017, right? There is again another framework which is called theory, construct, characteristics, and method. That is TCCM, right? So TCM was further refined by Paul and Rosado Serrano in 2019. So they have added one more T and changed the meaning of theory, constructs, characteristics, and then methods, right? And then finally, right, there are so many researchers that are using the mixed framework, right? It is ADO TCM framework or ADO TCCM framework, right? So they are mixing this framework, right? So they using two things. One, at one level, you are finding out the antecedent, decision, and outcome. At another level, you are also searching what are the different theories, what are the context, what are the method. Let me show you some paper on this. Okay. Okay. So this, let me show you this paper. ADO framework paper, right? So first, see, when you are using this framework, first they're talking about the decision, figure one, see. Okay. And maybe they're talking about foreign direct investment, right? So what are the antecedents? What is the decision and what are the outcomes, right? So that is ADO framework, conceptual framework, right? And then so this paper is mainly talking about ADO, right? See, nowadays only ADO framework paper are not, demanded, right? They want that, okay, with ADO, you also mix some other framework. So see, if you are able to mix another framework, that is helpful, right? But this is how they have actually presented. So entire, whatever they have written, see here, antecedent, decision, and outcome, right? So entire paper is based on that. What are the antecedents? You have to identify from the research the antecedent, what are the decisions and what are the outcomes, right? So see, you have to examine in this only, right? Okay, well, another thing is ADO TCM. Let us see this paper as well. So this paper is published in Journal of Knowledge Management, right, by the researchers Asa Thomas and Vikas Gupta. Okay, so how they have used this particular, see, in each and every paper you can see RQs are always there, which are very, very, very clearly. See which theories were adopted in TK, right? What research context that have been studied in TK studies. All this very, very, very clear research questions are there. So methodological approach, theoretical background, systematic LR, they have gone for procedure, right? We will see this thing little later. And these are the different, ways in which they have presented all this thing, right? And they have also go for TCM, that is theory, context, and everything. So they have explained over here, right? In the tacit knowledge context, they've explained over here. Let me take you down. See, this particular paper is more talking about the hybrid rules of diverse reviews, structural reviews, framework-based reviews, and they say that we are going to use this ADO TCM, right? So T is for TCM, T are the theories, C is context, and M is method. So they have actually identified, right, what kind of theories that are going to use, what in which context, and what are the methodologies that they are going to use. That's how they have entirely entire paper, though it is done through the bibliometric analysis, but they have shown everything. So they have actually mixed two methods, right? Then there is also one more method that is called TCCM method. Let us see that. Now that paper is published in International Marketing Review. And okay, so they have actually explained how they are using theory development. First T is for theory development. Second C is for context. Third C is for characteristics. And fourth is for methodology. For everything they have explained, right? And this is how they have actually analyzed the entire paper based on this particular framework. The title of the paper is Gradual Internationalization versus Born Global or International New Venture Model, right? So see, in this particular paper, they are just want to understand whether it is a gradual internationalization or it is a born global or international new venture model. So they were comparing this and they have used this TCCM method. See again, which framework? Why am I showing to you this number of papers? It's not like that I have downloaded and that's why I want to show you this paper. The reason behind showing you this paper is that it based on the nature, it based on the need of that particular study. You can go use the framework. If the need of the study, now you will ask me that how we can define the need. Okay, if you more and more read the paper, you will understand, okay, for this particular research question that I have generated, right, whether I should go for, I should check the antecedent, then I should check the decision, and then I should check the outcome, or whether this paper demands the theory, context, and methodology, what this particular, or this theory, this paper demands ADO and TCM both, right? So that's why I'm showing you, okay, this particular, this topic, on this topic, right, the best thing they have done is TCCM. They have seen the theories, they have seen the, because they are talking about the born global and different new venture models and internationalization versus born global international models, right? So they have seen what are the theories that have been used, right? What is the context? What are the methodologies? So in that context, we have to understand that, okay, in my research, what is the need, right? So with in that, in domain based review, if, okay, I have decided mine is a domain based review, now in that, what kind of framework that I should use, right? So that is why it is very important. Another thing is bibliometric review. It is again a part of a domain-based review, right? So bibliometric review, honestly speaking, right now, the good journals are not, more encouraging bibliometric reviews. The only reason behind that is in bibliometric review, for example, let me show. Okay. Little lengthy paper. See, do you see the title? Financial Literacy, a Systematic Review and Bibliometric Analysis, right? So bibliometric is a part of your domain-based review, right? And see, domain is financial literacy over here, right? And bibliometric analysis. So when you, because there is always a software which will help you in doing the bibliometric analysis. One thing which is very important over here is why bibliometric reviews are not much encouraged by journals, because you add the entire data in feed the data in that particular software, right? And software will give you the answer. Okay. So bibliometric is they're talking about, okay, trend of publication in time, right? So what is the
one
trend?
question here.
Yeah, please.
Will you please tell the software that you're talking about? As I was using only NVivo. Is
Yeah.
there other software for systematic review?
NVivo is there that will help you. Actually, in tomorrow's class, we are going to discuss some software.
Okay.
Right,
Fine.
the different softwares which are there, right, and which software is completely free, right? Which, for example, for meta-analysis, there is a one comprehensive meta-analysis software is there.
I'll wait till then.
Okay. After that, if you have any query, then we will discuss, right? So I'll only discuss the name of those particular software which will help you, right? Because using those software, everybody cannot have the access, but yeah, I'll give you the name. So at least by the name, you can search on the Google, right? NVivo is the best, ma'am, actually. Okay. So see here, when you say this particular thing, bibliometric analysis, right? So what they are doing, right? Your objective and analysis method is there, and now you'll directly come to the findings, right? You can see that, okay, you feed the data, and what is the timeline for publication in time, right? What are the profile of authors? That means how many authors from the data set you can say there are. How many authors are from which country has done so many publication on that particular, what are the sample statistics, right? Citation network analysis, that is also done through particular software, right? The page rank analysis and everything, keyword analysis, co-citation analysis, clustering, content analysis. Now you, if you're going for a content analysis, right, then you have identified certain content, right, and certain clusters, and you have analyzed those things. So what am I trying to say over here is, when we are doing all these things, right, so bibliometric analysis, more the software is doing, right, and just it will help you because you have the bibliography, right? From the bibliography and from the citation, it is doing the entire analysis. So here the author's role is not that much, and that's why these papers are not much. I'm not saying, all right, that these papers are not published in good journal, but whatever my interaction with those international reviewers, right, and editors, they say that we don't encourage these papers, rather we encourage other SLR papers where actually author's contribution is there, right? So this is how the bibliometric study that is that can be done. Basically, if you see, it always highlight the statistics and trends that in the review domain, right? So when we talk about the hybrid review, so you can, you can club any two. You can see in this is again a hybrid one, right? They have gone for systematic SLR. Maybe they have adopted some model, and then they can go for systematic literature review and that kind of thing, right?
Can I
Another
ask you
is,
a question?
yes,
As you talk about the author contribution, what do you mean by that?
author contribution means when you say, so see in bibliometric review, so everything, most of the things that are done, right, major analysis that is done by software itself. and it only and only highlight the statistics, right? How many publication in the okay, in that particular journal, in this many years, what kind of authors are there, what kind of publication in time of publication is there. So it is majorly it is giving you the statistics. When we talk about the Adobe framework or any other framework, right? So author's contribution is must, because author have identified from those papers, they have analyzed those papers, and they have come up with the outcomes in those papers. That's where the author contribution is there. For example, if I
manually doing it rather than using a software, does that mean that?
yes, yes. And when we say author contribution, because see, bibliometric means what? It only highlights the statistics and trends in that particular domain. Of course, that will help us, right? But if somebody has analyzed something and somebody has come up with certain things, right? So don't you think that would be more beneficial to the other researchers, right? So if in my research, for example, in my psychological contract area, I have come up that, okay, this is the list of antecedents, right? That means this is something that is there that is impacting on psychological contract. And this is a list of outcome, right? Okay, because of psychological contract, this things are, these are the outcomes, or these are the something that is that is the reason, or this is the psychological contract is impacting on this many things, right? So that means here I have taken so much pain to understand the antecedent, the different processes, decisions, and what are the mediators, what are the moderators, to understand the particular one domain of psychological contract, right? And that's where, right, the author's contribution is little higher in terms of the different in terms of little less in terms of bibliometric reviews, and little higher in terms of the other reviews that authors are doing. I hope I have clarified your question.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, are we going to learn this SLR practically also? Like how we are doing?
Can you please repeat your question? Your voice is cracking.
I'm saying, are we going to learn this SLR practically also?
Practically means I can see SLR is this process you can follow. I can say, okay, this is how you can go for a search strategy. What should be the how you can search it, right? How you can arrange it, right? Ultimately, then you have to, I can show you those things, right? Different the process steps that I can show you practically. Okay, in Google you can do like this. You can
So
you can go for this
going
kind of.
to do that one in the next class?
Yes. Tomorrow we are going to do that. Because today's session is more on fundamentals.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Then we have a theory-based review and again a method-based review. Okay, which thing you are saying a theory-based review? Let me take you to that. Okay. Please read the title and what this title is saying. The title itself is saying so many things. Anyone? Anyone? We are understanding theory-based review. Anyone? This is simple. This is okay.
Ma'am, this paper is reviewing the self-determination theory.
Yes. So see, this particular theory in marketing science, they are very clear with that, right? See, self-determination theory, basically it is a psychological aspect, right? Which is more used in, which is also used in consumer behavior segment as well, right? So how in marketing science, what is the role of the self-determination theory, right? So see, this is called a theory-based review. right? So that for one particular theory, how that theory that has been used in one particular domain, what this theory is giving, what kind of outcomes. So all these things, right? That is here. So what the review studies are there, which kind of journal. See, if you're doing such kind of studies where, see, whatever papers that I'm showing you, these are they papers, they all are almost in the A star category, right? So see, what they have done, they have identified, okay, what are the different journals in which this kind of articles are there, right? Again, see here, right? Most frequently surveyed countries, right? So these are the frequently surveyed countries in which this kind of research that has been carried out, right? With the publication time, right? So from 1998 to 2018, right? And then this kind of publication trends in mini theories in STD, self-deterministic theory in marketing research, right? So they have come up, actually this is one of the very, this is a unique paper where they have blend two things, right? Where consumer psychology, that is with the self-deterministic theories, right? And then they have come up with certain framework, right? And this can be a future research agenda. So from this social marketing environment, right, how they can go with, and these are the outcomes, right? And these are the cognitive evaluation theories, right? Because when we say self-deterministic theory, right, in that we have different mini theories are there. So in that you have to also understand those theoretical understanding of those theories, right? And how that is applicable, right? So this is how the theory-based review. There are so many theory-based review that I was searching for you to explain, right? So it is examine the development of specific theory in a review domain. Another is the method-based review. So when we say the method-based review, right, so it explores the development of specific method in a review domain. If I'm having it, so I'll show that to you. This is, so this is tourism management perspective. This is one journal, right? So the evolution of web and ethnography in tourism, a systematic review, right? Okay, when you say the method based review, it is usually we consider this as one of the research method, right? It's a part of a research design, right? So anyone from the audience, they have any understanding about an ethnography? Anybody? So I'll give you maybe 1 minute's time to think, right? Because you feel like, okay, how it is called a method-based review. That's why I want to explain this word to you. Ethnography.
Ma'am, it is related to netnography. Maybe it is related to net. Ma'am, my voice is audible.
So concepts in research, one is ethnography and another is ethnography, right? So when you say ethnography, that means one person, right? I have to go to that particular environment, observe that particular environment, and then come up with my observations and my observations and my evaluations of that particular environment.
Can it be that today now we have this YouTubers who
Yeah.
talks about a particular place and everybody want to
Yeah.
visit?
Yes. That can be one thing. So you might have seen also one kind of research that, okay, on that particular, maybe some people are actually checking from Facebook, from your replies, from your, the emojis that you are using, the kind of photographs that you are uploading. From that, somebody is, maybe interpreting your personality, somebody is interpreting your time that you are spending on those kind of social media, right? So usage of internet, right? And you are observing somebody, maybe you can observe it on a social media, can observe it on another, maybe whatever, if you are under the surveillance of something CCTV or something like that, and you have access to those things, right? Maybe you are observing because of videos that you are getting, right? So netnography is basically that concept that when you are from the with the help of internet, how you are, observing certain things or certain trends. That is called ethnography. So in web and ethnography, because in tourism, right, before searching or before reaching to that particular place physically, you have actually enjoyed that particular place via internet, images and everything, right? So how the evolution is of web and ethnography in tourism, on that they have an entire, so see, ethnography is one method. So that is why this paper comes under the method based review. Then they have explained little later, so we are not going into that explanation, right, how they have gone through, but just to explain you what is called method based review, right? And there are meta-analytical reviews, right? And there are so many papers, and still this particular, meta-analytical reviews are still, this is the point of attraction for editors, because this particular reviews are more focusing on statistical assessment, right, of prior research of the review domain, where the systematic procedures underpinning the literature reviews enable the researchers to identify all relevant factors and studies in that review domain prior to quantitative appraisal of synthesis to establish statistical significance and relevance. Okay, this is too long to understand. Let us break it down, right? So it more focusing on the statistical assessment of prior research. Let us understand this with the help of okay. I have tried to find the papers which are published more by Indian authors, right? Okay, so this, if you see, health motive and purchase of organic food, meta-analytic review, right? Okay, how they have gone for this meta-analysis. So they have used, what is the theoretical model, what is this thing, right? Okay, sorry, I have ended this particular one. Okay. Theoretical model, fixed effect, and then search and selection criteria. Okay. They might have also shared that which software they have used. See, they have used this comprehensive meta-analysis. This is the most celebrated software in meta-analysis, right? And whatever the papers that they are getting, right, they have to calculate the effect size. Meta-analysis selected data extraction and validation, how they have extracted the data, what kind of data they are extracted. See, when you are using meta-analysis, one very important aspect that I would like to say, maybe we're little going beyond the whatever the fundamentals right now we are understanding. But see, when we are saying that we want to study how you can check statistically, so all the papers that you are adding in it, it must have either the regression coefficient or correlation coefficient or t-value, p-value, whatever, everything, sample size, you must have all these things, right? And then only you can run the meta-analysis. See, if you don't have the statistical data in those papers that you have downloaded for meta-analysis, then you can't run this particular, you can't add those paper in that particular software, right? That means if you are understanding only two factors at a time for meta-analysis, right, and both the factors, right, must have either the regression coefficient, t-value, p-value, sample size, all these things must be there, right? Then you can perform it, right? And that's why, see, only 20 papers are there. Don't you think in organic food and health motive there are n number of papers that have been written, but all the papers are not having this kind of values, right? And that's why now if you are writing any simple paper, right, the editor will ask you, okay, what is the sample size, what is the p value, what is the t value, What is the regression coefficient? This is required because somebody will download your paper and perform a meta-analysis. Then these things are, if these things are not there, they cannot perform these things, right? So then you can convert it, which is little later on. But all the papers, when you are considering for meta-analysis, these papers must have some statistical portion of those two variables. Otherwise, it is very difficult for you to perform meta-analysis, right? So it is that's why it is a statistical assessment in a review domain where systematic. See here, the systematic procedure. That means that whatever the software requires, you need to feed all the data, right? So see, I want to understand that, okay, what is the relationship between turnover and mental health, right? So I must have, so whatever papers that I have downloaded and fitting in that particular software, I should have the statistical data of this two, right? Regression, correlation, whatever I am searching, I must have this two. Then and then I can go for this meta-analytical reviews, right? And ultimately, this will give you the, see here, ultimately, this particular meta-analytic review will give you the effect size. If you see here, this is giving you the p value, right? Which is again the effect size we are talking about, right? This will only give you the p value, right? This is the statistics. So this is the effect size we are talking about. It will talk about only effect size. Okay. Okay. Now next, another thing which is very important. So all these were the types of SLR, right? Another thing that is important is why SLR, right? This is very important to answer. If you're understanding, or if you're doing SLR, right? The first is to consolidate knowledge in a domain, right? You must consolidate, right? You should have this purpose. Okay, why would I consolidate, right? Why am I going for SLR? What is the need? Okay, that is, somebody has done already in my topic, somebody has done already this kind of systematic literature review in let's say for last, right? Then there is no need to do that particular review, right? If I want to consolidate the knowledge, that means there is a need of consolidating that particular knowledge. Second is to the planning of new research to substantially advance knowledge, right? So that means, for example, if you'll get one, this paper that recently we talked about export barriers, right? So they have actually done the, from last, say, for example, last 30 years of research paper on export barrier, right? And they have summarized all these things in one research paper. See, when I am looking for export barrier, right? And then I don't need to go for those 30 paper, sorry, those last 30 years review papers. If I'll see this particular paper, I'll get the idea what is done in this particular research area in last 30 years, right? So that will actually advance the knowledge, that will also summarize what you have done. Another thing is to support aims of novelty when old and new knowledge are contrasted.
And maybe
Right.
the repetition of a research can be stopped in that way.
Yes,
Wasting of
yes,
time.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely, right? So you can also claim the novelty. Maybe in past certain years, this is the outcome, and now due to COVID, this is the outcome, right? So you can also say that, okay, this knowledge is of about before 2019 and after 2019. So for that also you can go for, so past after COVID, right? So there are the papers on I guess 2023, which is talking about the revenge tourism, right? So how many there are so many research that was done in the tourism. So once the lockdown was uplifted, right, and the economy was stable, everybody was roaming here and there, everybody was putting their photographs, right? And there was a time that people were going to Maldives like a hell, right? And at that time, and then there is a research that was going, okay, people are using this thing. And then there was a, this paper that came on the revenge tourism, right? Because of those 2 years, people could not go anywhere. Now, because the lockdown is uplifted, now everybody is free to go. So people are actually going everywhere. So this is how, it can support this kind of things are coming into the picture. Binge during the COVID, people have binge watched web series and movies, and because they don't have any other things to do. And so this is how systematic SLR will help you to support your claims, right? Or maybe if it is something is contrasted, that will always be there in the support, right? And if you require to do it, then and then do it, right? Don't go for a replica of something, right? If see somebody has done on my domain already, somebody has done an SLR, right? So then I don't need to do. I can rather focus on other variables and write a good paper, right? When SLR, again, this is very important, right? So see, at least what I have gone through and what I have read, from that I am giving you this slide, right? I'm not saying you stick to it, but this is just a advised slide from my end, right? So if in your domain, at least 40 articles should be there to review. I'm not saying final 40 articles should be included in the paper, but at least you are able to download those 40 articles. That is one thing. Second thing is, if somebody has done in the last year, somebody has done 2023, don't do it, right? Minimum 5 years, right? If no systematic LR is exist in recent, that is last 5 years, then you can go for SLR. So these are the pinpoints, but this this advice and these points are very helpful in practice. Another thing is, if a good quality journal, right? ABDC, A-star, right? Scopus Q1, right? And SCI, Social Science Citation Index, right? If the impact factor, right, that has to be more than 1. Now, in these journals, right, if you don't see the good SLR papers on your domain, right, then you can go for SL, right? Otherwise, right, if in these journals SLRs are already there, don't go for it. So these are the 3 conditions you should take into consideration when you're going for SLR, right? Many a times it happened with me that I was writing SLR, right? And I have written, I took actually a little longer time for that particular paper. So I took actually 6 months. And in that 6 months, when I am winding up my paper, I saw that somebody has already published, right? And that was in the year 2022. Somebody has already published on the topic that on which I have written, almost finished my SLR, right? Then my SLR, that became actually of no work. Ultimately, I kept it in my one of my folder in my laptop, right? But that was of no use, right? Because somebody has already published on the same topic, same domain. Now, nobody, good journal are not going to publish those papers, right? So see, you have to be very sure, right, when you are doing SLR, how many papers are required. Okay. When not SLR, right? That means that to get just, then I just want to build my CV, right? I just want to meet my KPI, right? Or we can empathize with publish or publish culture, right? See, there are so many B schools where you have this culture of publish or perish, right? Either you publish or you're not given increment, right? You're not given promotion, right? So okay, for that I want to publish, just to get published. No, don't go into that particular trap, right? Many people feel that, okay, why I like SLR? Because I don't like field work, right? Don't go for it, right? And people think it's a easy research, but when it comes to this kind of meticulous and tedious task, it is not a easy work or easy research, right? Don't go for SLR with this kind of mindset, right? So that's what I feel, that okay, you should not go for SLR with this kind of mindset. Last where SLR, right? First is, if those, or where you can publish, right? What should be the journal outlet? So first is when those journals, because you should go for the high quality journal, right? So you will get a good readership. More and more readership you will get, more and more citation you will get, right? Your paper is actually and it is easy accessible. There are so many journals, they'll give access to the good institutions, right? Highly affordable. Again, see, if to publish a good SLR paper, if you have to pay your money, that means don't only go for open access journals, right? Because in open access journals, you'll have to pay money, right? So if for you also, this should be highly affordable, right? And the journals which are a very author-centric journals, right? Because there are so many journals, those who are not author-centric journals, right? So author-centric journals are those journals, they'll give at least authors some freedom, right, in terms of writing everything, right? So usually journals, good journals are not that much rigid one, right? Of course, they need certain things in the, in their journal, right? But they will always consider the author first and then other things, right? So if you find that kind of journal, then you can go for SLR, right? And tomorrow we'll start with this Prisma, right? What is the preferred reporting item for systematic review and meta-analysis? Now, of course, I wanted to keep some more time for question answer session, but I could keep only 5 minutes. I wanted to keep actually 10-15 minutes, right? So any question on whatever, we discussed today? Any question? So you can ask me.
Ma'am, as you talk about the time period for a systematic review,
Yeah.
Like there are certain topics like positive psychology,
Yeah.
and maybe addiction, which is quite in.
Yes.
Maybe new kind of addiction or behavior addiction is quite in. So maybe
Yes.
we get many papers
Yeah.
to be published in a year or maybe in 2 years. So we don't have to
Yeah.
go for the 5 year concept, right? Is it so? Can we do that?
You can
Or,
do that,
or if
but
I have
ma'am, you
50
will
or
not
5 or
get
60 or
variation
50.
in response, ma'am.
Pardon, sir?
Saying you will not get the variation in the response. For example, some paper that are published, for example, there are, let's say 50 papers that are published here on addiction, right? But if you analyze those 50 papers, the all 50 papers are somewhere talking about the one or two or three variables. But in that place, if you analyze, for example, the papers in last 10 years, right? One thing in this addiction, you will also see some generational differences as well. Right, so with this, all this consideration, rather than going for 1 or 2 year, it is always advisable to look at the paper in 5 years. See, major changes are always come within 5 years, and that's why we have the strategies at government level that we are given this 5 years as well, right? So from that logic, right, I'm considering the 5 year period is a good time, right, where there's so many changes that have come. And that is the logic that I give to everybody, that why you should see. We in government also, we have this Panchvarshiya Yojana.
Right, ma'am.
That's so why it is a Panchvarshiya Yojana? Because though 5 years is a good period where the some changes that can be brought in, and some outcomes, new outcomes we can see. Right, and that's why if you take minimum this 5 years, right, so that will actually help you. I'm saying time period, you can use it for, let's say, for example, you can look at not all, so last 5 years the papers could not have published. You can take from 2010 to 2024. So in this duration, how many papers are published? And you can see also some generational differences. You can also see some addiction. So just don't take me otherwise, just I'm sharing my observation, right? So in 2010 we could not see more females, if we're talking about the addiction in terms of smoke, right? So more females were not, smoking. But if you see now in 2024, it is a trend that now it is not a, now this smoking, not, you cannot see from the lens of gender, right? Boy and girl both are, if we have the some age, some XYZ age, right, they are smoking right now, right? So that's why, ma'am, I was saying that, okay, take at least good amount of year gap. That will also help you in analysis. You can see that particular thing from a different perspective.
But ma'am, if suppose otherwise, if we won't get much articles in this 5 years, and we only want to take 5 years, is it okay?
Okay.
Or we have to increase our time limit in that case?
I increase your time limit.
Okay.
Right, at least go for example, that okay, if you're not finding good papers, right, so you can go for from the initiation. This the first paper was written on that particular paper.
Okay, fine.
Right, check that, so that will help you.
Fine, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, any other question from the audience?
Mama, I have one question.
Yes.
Ma'am, while showing the examples, so you have shown a few papers.
Yeah.
In one of the paper, I have observed that the author have mentioned the source as a database,
Yeah.
like Scopus, PubMed. Whereas in one another paper, the author has mentioned about the source as a journal.
Yeah.
The author has mentioned many journal name, directly the journal name.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, according to you, which is suggestible for the new scholars if we are looking for an SLR application?
Okay, so first thing is, see, it is usually in all the papers. So in the paper that I have shown, that journal outlet was there, right? So in this journal, these many journals are there in which this kind of papers are published, right? But the database mention is mandatory.
Okay, ma'am.
If your paper requires to show the journals, right, name of the journal, and in that particular journal how many papers were published in this particular duration, if it is mandatory to show, then only show that this particular thing. Otherwise, right, you have to show the database, right? Okay, it's from Scopus, Web of Science, across the database, how many papers that you were able to download, or you were able to initial search, how many papers, what is the, what start strategy is giving you the final outcome, right? But yes, database is mandatory. You can skip the journals if it is needed, and only show this thing. Otherwise, but yes, database is mandatory to show in your SLR.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any question? Somebody also.
Ma'am, shall I ask you?
Yeah, please, ma'am.
Okay. Actually, I'm in my systematic literature review writing on the thesis, and I
Okay.
want to know. I want to know whether while I'm using a Prisma method here, so
Okay.
in that itself, I want to know whether I could whether I is it necessary for me to show the seminal work
Okay.
of my area. So, and how that could be identified? Is it based on citation? Or is there any other way to identify the seminal work of my part? And again, while doing the Prisma framework, is it necessary to? I'm making a comprehensive review using Scopus, Web of Science, and Google Scholar. Is it okay? And again, if, there may be a duplication on these databases, no? And
yes, 100% there will be duplication.
so, is it any way to reduce the duplication, or any other ways to give some prompts or something like that in these literature review techniques? Can you give me some answer for this?
Okay. See, ma'am, I want to, because you have a series of questions, let us go one by one. First is, tomorrow we will understand Prisma, right? So I will explain when to go Prisma. And if you're not using Prisma, that is also fine. Ideally, most of the researchers are using Prisma. And what is the, in which condition you should go for Prisma? That is one thing tomorrow we will discuss. Second thing is, in your research, right? First, if you could share through email that, okay, this is my research and this is how am I going. Then the series of question, ma'am, that you've asked, right? In your research, what is important, what is not important? I just need to understand your RQs.
Okay.
Based on that, I can give you the answer, okay, this is required or this is not required. With my understanding of SLR, I can give those answers to you. But yes, for that you need to share, maybe not sharing publicly, if you can share it, right? And since how many years of, if you're writing your SLR right now, so you're targeting since maybe you're targeting the paper since 1990, or yes, seminal work, I think, right, it is mandatory to show seminal work.
Okay. So
The reason behind
by
it is
using this,
because
excuse me,
work
ma'am.
will always give somebody the idea.
Actually, by using this Prisma, we have to give it. We used to give filtering by year, no? So how that could be written in our thesis about the seminal work?
No, I'm saying filtering. That means you can always discuss your seminal work in the introductory part,
Okay, right.
right? So it is not necessary that seminal work, if you have used this particular timeline and that seminal work is not coming, that is fine. But
Okay.
you can always use this in the introduction part. Okay, this is the seminal work, right? And see, the timeline, when you are giving the time, there should be the logical answer for that timeline.
Actually, my work is on tourism, and I'm
Tourism.
working on sustainable tourism, and
You're
I'm
working
taking
on
the period.
okay.
Yeah, I'm taking the publishing year from 2002 to 24 actually. So 2002 is based on a Cape Town declaration. There's a declaration for considering a sustainable tourism in sustainable development.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
I'm taking 2002. That's my judgment.
Okay,
So
that's perfect, ma'am.
okay, so in that situation, I'm very much confused whether the seminal paper could be included in this.
No,
How it could be
you
identified.
cannot include it then when you are analyzing those things. But of course, you
Okay.
can always discuss that particular paper in the introduction. You can always discuss that particular paper in the discussion part, right? When
Okay.
you are contradicting, when you are supporting your whatever findings that you got from the SLR, right? You can
Okay.
always do that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it is not necessary. Yes, I'm again repeating, it is
A-
not
a-
necessary.
Again, I want to know how that could be identified.
Which one?
The seminal work.
Seminal work, how you can identify?
Yeah.
Okay, so first, sustainable tourism. Somebody has worked on sustainable tourism, right?
Okay.
Okay, so in which year the first paper? See, if you'll go for the Scopus, if you'll go search in the Scopus, right? You just you can do this thing. You can filter it, and which is the first year when this kind of paper were published, or
Okay.
in Web of Science.
Okay.
Many a times it may happen that your journal is in both Web of Science or Scopus.
Scopus. Okay.
Right? So you will find, okay, this is the paper. This is the first time this paper got published, or this word sustainable tourism came into the existence in research papers.
Okay. Right.
But you have to limit yourself. You will only and only be looking at only the research papers, or you will go for the reports, or you will go for what? That you need to limit.
Okay. Okay.
Because you can't see exhaustively, you can't do anything. Otherwise, it will take for 1 or 2 years to finish your SLR.
Okay. Correct. Yes.
Right. Another thing is how you can show the duplication. So you can use the, you have download the two database,
Yes.
Scopus, Web of Science,
Yeah.
right? And you go for the VLOOKUP.
Okay. Right.
Right?
Okay.
From VLOOKUP, you can remove duplications.
Okay.
Then, right now that is the only way out.
Okay.
Because we have so many Excel files for that.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And highlight those things through VLOOKUP, highlight those things.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay, if there's no question, then tomorrow we are meeting at 7:30. Yeah. Riddhi?
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.